The hotel room door barely closed before his mouth claimed hers. Adana gasped as strong hands gripped her waist, lifting her against the wall with effortless strength. The mysterious stranger from the bar kissed her like he was starving, pressing Adana against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the hotel suite. "Tell me to stop," he murmured against her neck, his hands sliding up her thighs, pushing up her black dress. "Don't stop," she breathed, fingers tangling in his perfectly styled hair. "Don't you dare stop." His smile against her skin was pure sin. Dangerous words, beautiful. I don't do anything halfway. She pulled him closer, desperate to forget her cheating ex-boyfriend, desperate to feel wanted. This older man with silver-threaded hair and hands that knew exactly where to touch made her feel alive, electric, reckless. Their lips crashed together, desperate, consuming, perfect. She didn't know his last name, didn't know he was dangerous. Didn't know that in 2 weeks, she'd discover this stranger was her ex-boyfriend's father. That this one night would drag her into a world of blood, power, and obsession. Because Jin-Woo Park, Korean Mafia Boss, killer, king of Atlanta's underworld, never forgot anything, especially not her. And what started as one perfect mistake became the deadliest consequence of her life. If that scene had you sweating, you better hit that subscribe button. Comment if you're ready for this forbidden, age gap, mafia romance. Like this video because Adana and Jin-Woo's story is about to get wild. Now let's get started. 3 weeks earlier, Adana Johnson's life had been predictable. Exhausting, but predictable. 12-hour shifts at Grady Memorial Hospital, saving lives in Atlanta's busiest ER, then coming home to a boyfriend who barely looked up from his phone anymore. David Park had been attentive once, bringing her coffee during night shifts, leaving sweet notes on her dashboard. But lately he'd become a stranger who shared her bed and nothing else. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Adana had pulled a double shift, her scrub still smelling of antiseptic and desperation, when she found David's phone lighting up with messages from someone named Michelle, Jim. The texts weren't explicit, but the intimacy in them cut deeper than any scalpel. "You're overreacting," David said, his Korean-American features twisted with annoyance rather than guilt. He stood in her modest midtown apartment, designer clothes looking out of place among her thrift store furniture. "She's just a friend. Friends don't send good morning texts with heart emojis." Adana's voice was quiet, the kind of quiet that preceded storms. Her Nigerian parents had taught her many things: how to persevere, how to excel, how to maintain dignity. They'd also taught her when to recognize disrespect. David scoffed. "You're always at work. What do you expect me to do, wait around?" Something in Adana's chest crystallized into ice. "Get out." "Adana, I said get out." Her voice cracked. "Take your things and leave." He did, muttering about her being dramatic, about how she'd regret this. The door slammed. Silence rushed in like a flood. Adana stood in her living room, surrounded by the life she'd built through sheer determination. Medical degree earned through scholarships and sleepless nights, career helping people, independence her parents had sacrificed everything to give her. And somehow she'd still chosen wrong in love. Her phone buzzed. Chioma, her best friend since undergraduate. "I can hear your thoughts spiraling from across town. Get dressed, we're going out. Wear something that makes you feel dangerous." 2 hours later, Adana sat at the bar of the Aurelius Hotel in Buckhead, where old money met new power in Atlanta's most exclusive district. The black dress she'd borrowed from Chioma hugged curves she usually hid under scrubs. Her natural hair was slicked back into a low bun, gold hoops catching the low light. She looked like someone else. She wanted to be someone else. "I'll be right back," Chioma said, her phone ringing. "Don't move, and don't talk to any boring men." Adana ordered whiskey. Neat. The bartender's eyebrows rose. Most women at this bar ordered cocktails with pretty names, but he poured without comment. The liquid burned her throat, warming the cold place David had left behind. Whiskey. The voice came from beside her, deep and measured. Either celebrating or forgetting. Adana turned. The man sliding onto the adjacent stool was older, early 50s, she guessed, with silver threading through black hair styled with precision. His suit probably cost more than her monthly rent. Everything about him screamed wealth and power, from the Patek Philippe on his wrist to the way the bartender immediately straightened, suddenly attentive. But it was his eyes that caught her. Dark, intelligent, carrying the weight of someone who'd seen too much and feared nothing. "Can't it be both?" Adana heard herself say. His smile was slow, transforming his severe features into something devastating. "Then you're either very wise or very reckless." "Haven't decided yet." He ordered whiskey, the expensive kind that didn't need to be requested by name. The bartender simply knew. Two men in dark suits materialized near the bar's entrance, trying and failing to look casual. The man beside her paid them no attention, his focus entirely on Adana. "Jinwoo," he offered. Not JW, not Mr. Park. Just Jinwoo, like he was giving her something precious. "Adana." Beautiful name. "Nigerian?" She nodded, surprised. Most people asked if she was African or African American, like there was a difference that mattered. "Igbo," she clarified, "a people of warriors and traders." His knowledge caught her off guard. "I appreciate cultures that understand the value of both strength and strategy." They talked. About everything and nothing. He asked about her work. She mentioned nursing, but not where. He mentioned business, but nothing specific. The conversation flowed like the whiskey, warming her from the inside, making her forget why she'd needed forgetting in the first place. Jinwoo's knee brushed hers under the bar. Neither moved away. "I should go," Adana said, not moving. "Should you?" His eyes held hers. In them she saw desire, yes, but also something darker. A warning, maybe. A promise, definitely. "My friend is waiting." "Your friend left 20 minutes ago." He nodded toward the lobby. She waved. "You were too busy telling me about the first surgery you observed to notice." Adana checked her phone. Text from Kioma. "You're welcome. He's gorgeous and clearly rich. Be safe. Text me in the morning." "I don't do this," Adana said. "Neither do I." Jinwoo's hand covered hers on the bar, warm and possessive. "But I think we're both going to make an exception." Room 3405 was a suite that overlooked Atlanta's glittering skyline. Jinwoo poured them both water first, which struck her as oddly considerate. Then he crossed the distance between them with the confidence of a man who'd never been refused anything. "Last chance to leave," he murmured against her ear, his hands on her waist, not constraining, just holding. Adana's answer was to pull him down to her lips. The night was a blur of sensations. His controlled strength, the way he took his time like he was memorizing her. The Korean words he whispered against her skin that sounded like prayers or curses. When she finally fell, asleep wrapped in sheets that cost more than her couch, she felt weightless. Morning came with golden sunlight and an empty bed. On the pillow beside her, a note on hotel stationery in precise handwriting. "You were unforgettable. JW." Adana, dressed in last night's clothes, slipped out before housekeeping arrived and told herself it was exactly what it needed to be. One perfect night to cauterize the wound David had left. She was wrong. 2 weeks later, "Please, Adana." David stood in front of the hospital, catching her after her shift. He looked terrible, circles under his eyes, his usually perfect hair disheveled. "I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I need this one favor." "We're done, David. I don't owe you anything." "It's my father." His voice cracked. "He's in town. He's never in town. And he's asking, no, demanding to meet you. I told him we broke up and he got angry." You don't understand. My father isn't someone you disappoint. Something in his tone made Adana pause. Fear. Real bone-deep fear. I've never been good enough for him, David continued, words tumbling out. The business, his expectations, all of it. You were the one thing he seemed to approve of when I mentioned you months ago. Please, just one dinner. Then I'll never ask you for anything again. Adana's better judgment screamed at her to refuse, but the part of her that had become a nurse because she couldn't ignore suffering, even the self-inflicted kind, hesitated. One dinner, she finally said. Then we're done, completely. Relief flooded David's face. Thank you. Thank you. It's tomorrow night. I'll text you the address. The restaurant was in a part of Atlanta Adana rarely visited, an unmarked building in an upscale area where businesses didn't need signs because the right people simply knew. David met her outside, more nervous than she'd ever seen him. He's very traditional, David warned as they approached the entrance. Formal. Just be yourself, but polite. Two Korean men in expensive suits opened the doors without a word. Inside, the restaurant was beautiful, all dark wood and paper screens with private rooms branching off a central hallway. They were led to the largest room at the end. The door slid open. Jin-Woo Park sat at the head of a low table examining something on his phone with the same intense focus he'd given her that night. He wore a three-piece suit in charcoal gray, his hair perfectly styled, every inch the powerful businessman. Adana's breath stopped in her lungs. Jin-Woo looked up. For a microsecond, so brief she almost missed it, something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Then it was gone, replaced by dark amusement. Father, David said, oblivious. This is Adana Johnson. Adana, my father, Jin-Woo Park. Jin-Woo stood with fluid grace, moving around the table. He extended his hand, his expression perfectly controlled. Adana, what a pleasure to finally meet you, officially. His hand enveloped hers, warm, familiar. His thumb brushed her pulse point, deliberate, possessive. Mr. Park, she managed, her voice barely steady. Dinner was a carefully orchestrated torture. Adana sat across from Jin-Woo while David positioned himself beside his father, trying too hard to impress. Every word from Jin-Woo's mouth was layered with double meaning that only she could decode. David tells me you're a nurse at Grady Memorial, Jin-Woo said, pouring her tea with movements that were almost intimate in their precision. Trauma surgery, correct? You must have steady hands. I do what needs to be done. Her voice was measured, controlled. I admire people who understand necessity. His eyes held hers for a beat too long. Too many people are ruled by emotion rather than pragmatism. A man entered, Korean, older, with the bearing of someone accustomed to violence. He bowed to Jin-Woo, whispered in rapid Korean. Jin-Woo's expression didn't change, but something in the air shifted, darkened. Excuse me, Jin-Woo said, standing. He switched to Korean, his voice dropping to a register that made Adana's skin prickle. The words were harsh, clipped. Then, in English, I don't care about his family. He stole from me. Handle it. Make sure everyone knows what happens to thieves. The man bowed again and left. David shifted uncomfortably. Father, maybe we should... Business doesn't stop for dinner, David. You should know this by now. Jin-Woo sat back down, picked up his chopsticks, and continued eating as if he hadn't just ordered someone's fate sealed. You're too soft. It's your mother's influence. The casual cruelty in his tone, the absolute authority, Adana realized with crystallizing horror exactly who Jin-Woo Park was. Not just wealthy, not just powerful, dangerous. Another interruption, this time a younger Korean man who needed David to review some paperwork outside. David hesitated, looking between his father and Adana. Go, Jin-Woo commanded, and we'll be fine. The door slid shut. Silence pressed down like a physical weight. Jinwoo set down his chopsticks with deliberate care. You look beautiful tonight, Adana, though I prefer you in black. That dress at the Aurelius suited you. You're David's father. Her hands clenched in her lap, nails biting into her palms. Biologically, yes. Though I've been a disappointment to him in most other ways, as he is to me. Jinwoo leaned back, studying her with the intensity of a man cataloging every detail. Does he know? There's nothing to know. It was a mistake. Was it? He tilted his head. I don't make mistakes, Adana, and I don't believe in coincidence. Her pulse hammered. What does that mean? It means I saw you before that night, 6 months ago. David brought you to one of my legitimate businesses, a restaurant opening in Midtown. You wore blue. You laughed at something the chef said. You were radiant. His voice was soft, almost gentle, which somehow made it more terrifying. I wanted you then. But you were my sons and I have rules. Lines even I don't cross. Then that night, you crossed the line first. You were no longer his. You became available. His smile was sharp. I don't waste opportunities. Adana stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. This is insane. I'm leaving. Sit down. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. But the command in those 3 words froze her in place. Jinwoo hadn't moved, hadn't raised his voice, but suddenly she was acutely aware of the men stationed outside, the fact that this was his territory, his world. Slowly she sat. Better. He poured more tea into her cup. We need to discuss your future. My future is none of your business. It became my business when you entered my world, Adana. You just didn't know it yet. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and slid it across the table. The image showed her apartment building. Another showed her walking into the hospital. Another, her parents' house in Lagos, Nigeria. Her mother watering the garden. Her father reading on the porch. Ice flooded her veins. You're threatening my family? I'm showing you reality. Jinwoo pulled the phone back. I run the Korean syndicate in Atlanta and most of the Southeast. I have enemies, Russians, Italians, rival Korean factions. They would love to hurt me. And now, whether you like it or not, you're a vulnerability. That night connected us. This dinner confirmed it. My enemies are very thorough, Adana. They're probably already taking your picture outside. Then this dinner was a trap. This dinner was inevitable. David would have brought you to me eventually. His need for approval is pathological. Jinwoo's expression hardened. But now we address practicalities. You have 2 choices. Option 1. You disappear. I relocate you, new identity, new life. You never see your family or friends again, but you're safe. Adana's chest constricted. And option 2? You work for me. I have men who need medical attention, the kind they can't get at hospitals without police involvement. Your skills are valuable. In exchange, you receive my protection, generous compensation, and continued access to your normal life. With adjustments. You mean I become your criminal accomplice? I mean you survive in the world you've stumbled into. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. You have 24 hours to decide. Choose wisely. The door opened. David returned, smiling nervously. Sorry about that. Everything okay? Jinwoo's hand landed on Adana's shoulder, possessive, claiming. Everything is perfect. Your Adana is delightful, David. You should have introduced us sooner. That night, Adana couldn't sleep. She paced her apartment, phone in hand, a dozen times, ready to call the police. And say what? A mafia boss gave her a job offer? He'd been nothing but polite. Threatening, yes, but with plausible deniability coating every word. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The clock is ticking. JW. She threw the phone across the room. The next day at the hospital, everything felt surreal. Adana mechanically performed her duties, checking vitals, administering medications, assisting in a surgery. But her mind was thousands of miles away, trapped in a private dining room with a man who'd somehow become her best memory and worst nightmare. "Dr. Okafor needs you in Trauma Bay 3, a nurse called out. Adana ran. Trauma was her element, where instinct took over and thought became action. The patient was a mess. Gunshot wounds to the abdomen and shoulder, bleeding out fast. She worked alongside the trauma team, her hands steady despite her racing mind, calling for blood, applying pressure, doing what she'd trained years to do. They saved him. Barely. In the scrub room afterward, hands shaking now that adrenaline was fading, Adana looked at her reflection. Blood spattered her scrubs. Exhaustion hollowed her eyes. This was who she was, a healer. How could Jinwoo ask her to use these skills for criminals? Her phone. "Impressive work today. He'll live because of you. Imagine how many more you could save." JW. Her blood ran cold. She ran back to the trauma bay. The patient they'd saved was gone, signed out AMA, against medical advice. The nurse looked confused. 2 Korean men came, said they were family, had all the right paperwork. Jinwoo had planted him. The gunshot victim, the emergency, all of it. A demonstration. Showing her that his men needed her skills, that she was already involved whether she chose to be or not. Rage, hot and bright, flooded through her. She texted the number. "Where are you?" Response. "Address attached. Come alone." The building was in an industrial area, nondescript except for the expensive cars parked outside and the men stationed at intervals. They let her through without question, as if she were expected. Inside, the warehouse had been converted into something sleek and modern. Offices, surveillance equipment, and in the back what looked like a medical facility. Jinwoo stood in an upstairs office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking his empire. He didn't turn when she entered. "That man today could have died in a real hospital," Adana said, her voice shaking with fury. "You risked his life to prove a point. He was shot stealing from a rival gang. No hospital would have taken him without calling police. He'd be in jail or dead." Jinwoo finally turned. "I gave him a chance at life and proved you could provide it. This is insane. This is survival." His voice cracked like a whip, the first real emotion she'd seen from him. "Do you think I wanted this life, Adana? I came to this country with nothing, built an empire from blood and sacrifice. I don't apologize for what I've had to become. Then let me go. I didn't ask for this." "You think I can?" He crossed to her in 3 strides. "You think my enemies will forget your face because you refuse to choose? You're in this. The only question is whether you're protected or exposed. I hate you." "You don't." His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "You hate that you don't hate me. You hate that part of you is still in room 3405 wanting more." She slapped him. The crack echoed in the office. Jinwoo's head barely moved. He smiled, dark, dangerous. "There she is, the fire I saw that night. Don't touch me. You don't want that either." But he stepped back, hands raised in mock surrender. 24 hours are almost up, Adana. Choose." A door burst open below, shouting in Korean and Russian. Jinwoo's expression transformed instantly, cold, lethal. He moved to a desk drawer, pulled out a gun with practiced ease. "Stay here," he commanded, already heading for the stairs. "What's happening?" "Bratva, Russian mob, they're early." He paused at the door. "Lock this behind me, don't come out until I return." Gunfire erupted below. Adana's training screamed at her to hide, to protect herself. But the sounds that followed, pained cries, desperate Korean voices calling for help, triggered something deeper. She was a nurse. People were hurt. She unlocked the door. The warehouse floor was chaos. Jinwoo's men were engaged with Russians in tactical gear. Bodies on the ground, she couldn't tell who was winning. Jinwoo himself moved like violence incarnate, every shot precise, every movement efficient. A young Korean man lay behind a pillar, blood pooling beneath him. Femoral artery, her mind catalogued automatically. Adana ran to him, sliding down beside him, hands already applying pressure. "Stay with me." "Adana, get back upstairs," Jinwoo's voice roared across the warehouse. She ignored him, focused on the bleeding. "I need a first aid kit, now!" One of Jinwoo's men tossed her a tactical medical bag. She worked frantically, pack the wound, apply pressure, elevate. The young man's eyes fluttered. "What's your name?" she asked, needing him conscious. "Minho," he gasped. "Okay, Minho, stay with me. Look at me, not the blood." The firefight ended as suddenly as it began. Jinwoo's men secured the Russians who weren't dead. Jinwoo himself appeared above her, gun still in hand, expression unreadable. "You didn't stay upstairs." "He was bleeding out." Adana's hands were covered in blood. "He needs a hospital. We have a facility, cars waiting." Jinwoo crouched beside her, his hand covering hers on Minho's wound. "You saved his life." "That's what I do." Something shifted in his eyes. Respect, possessiveness, something deeper. "I know." They transported Minho to a private clinic Jinwoo operated. Adana worked alongside a Korean doctor, stabilizing the young man, ensuring he'd survive. It was dawn before they finished. In the clinic's scrub room, Adana washed blood from her hands, watching it spiral down the drain. Jinwoo appeared in the doorway, somehow still immaculate despite the night's violence. "You made your choice," he observed. "I saved a life. That's not a choice. You saved one of my men, in my facility, using skills I need." He approached slowly, carefully, like she was something wild that might bolt. "That's exactly a choice, Adana." She turned off the water, faced him. "If I do this, if I work for you, I have conditions." His eyebrow raised. "You're negotiating?" "I only treat injuries. I don't participate in violence. I don't handle drugs, and my family never knows." "Agreed." "Just like that?" "I told you I don't waste opportunities, and you, Adana Johnson, are the opportunity of a lifetime." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "First month's salary. 10 times what the hospital pays. Deposited monthly to an account in your name." She opened it. The number made her dizzy. "There's more," Jinwoo continued. "David cannot know. He thinks you're ending things completely, which you are. Tomorrow you'll meet him, end it kindly, but finally he'll never know about us." "Us?" The word escaped before she could stop it. Jinwoo's smile was predatory. "Did you think this was just about your medical skills?" He stepped closer, backing her against the sink. "I've wanted you for 6 months, Adana. Waited. Watched. That night at the Aurelius was the first time I've broken my own rules in 20 years. And now fate has given you to me twice. I don't question fortune, I seize it. I'm not yours to seize. Not yet." His lips brushed her ear. "But you will be." Her breath hitched, traitorous body responding to his proximity, his heat, the memory of his hands on her skin. "This is wrong," she whispered. "Most worthwhile things are." He pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "I'm not a good man, Adana. I've killed. I'll kill again. I built this empire on fear and blood, but I protect what's mine with everything I have. And whether you've accepted it yet or not, you're mine now." "That's insane." "That's truth." He traced her jawline with one finger. "You felt it that night. You feel it now. This thing between us, it's inevitable. You can fight it, you'll lose, or you can surrender and let me give you everything. I don't want your blood money or your protection. You want me, though. That's enough to start." Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered in Korean, his expression hardening. When he hung up, the tender moment, if it could be called that, was gone. The Russians tonight were a message. There's a war coming. He straightened his cuffs. You'll need training. Self-defense, weapons, protocol. I told you You won't participate in violence. I heard you, but you will know how to survive it. His tone left no room for argument. Car will take you home. Rest. Tomorrow night end things with David. The day after your new life begins. And if I run? Jinwoo's smile was sad, almost gentle. Then I'll find you, and we'll have this conversation again. And again. Until you understand running isn't an option anymore. Not because I won't let you, but because you don't actually want to. He left her there, surrounded by medical equipment in a secret clinic, covered in another man's blood, her entire life irrevocably changed. Adana made it home as sunrise painted Atlanta gold. Her apartment felt foreign, like a life she'd visited but didn't quite belong to anymore. She showered, watching blood and gunpowder residue circle the drain, and tried to cry. Nothing came, just numbness. Her phone. Sleep. I'll have someone watching the building. You're safe. JW. She should have felt violated, surveilled, trapped. Instead, treacherously, she felt something else. Something that terrified her more than Jinwoo's guns or power or criminal empire. She felt protected. The next evening, she met David at a coffee shop. Neutral territory. He looked hopeful, which made this harder. Thank you for meeting with me, he started. I know I screwed up, but... David, stop! Adana kept her voice gentle but firm. We're not getting back together. That's not why I'm here. His face fell. But I thought, I know, and I'm sorry, but we weren't right for each other. You know that. Is this because of my father? I know he can be intense. If only you knew, Adana thought. This is because of us. We wanted different things, different lives. They talked for another 30 minutes. David tried to change her mind, then accepted defeat with grace she hadn't expected. They parted as friends, or at least friendly. He had no idea he was losing her to his own father. The irony was acid in her throat. 2 days later, Adana stood in Jinwoo's office, watching him conduct business. He switched between Korean, English, and what sounded like Russian, orchestrating his empire with terrifying efficiency. When the last associate left, his attention focused entirely on her. Minho wants to thank you personally, Jinwoo said. You saved his life. In my world, that creates a debt. I don't want debts. Nevertheless, you have loyalty now. Minho is young, but he's one of my best. He'll die for you if needed. The casual way he said it, die for you, sent chills down her spine. I need you to understand something, Jinwoo continued, rounding his desk. In this world, loyalty is currency. Trust is rare. You've earned both by your actions, not your words. My men respect that. I didn't do it for respect. I know. You did it because you couldn't do anything else. It's who you are, a healer, even when healing serves darkness. He stopped in front of her. It's one of the reasons I want you. One of the reasons? His hand slid into her hair, tilting her face up. You want the full list? Your strength, your fire, the way you don't cower, how you taste, the sounds you make when... She kissed him to shut him up. Or maybe because she'd been thinking about it for days. His arms came around her immediately, crushing her against him, the kiss deepening into something desperate and consuming. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Jinwoo's control had fractured. Tell me you don't want this. Lie to me, Adana. I'll believe you if you can say it convincingly. I can't. The admission hurt. I hate that I can't. Then stop fighting. His forehead rested against hers. Let me have you completely. This is crazy. You're a criminal, my ex's father. This violates everything. Everything except what we both want. His thumb traced her lower lip. I'm not a good man, Adana. I won't pretend to be. But I'll worship you. protect you, give you everything I have. All I ask is that you stop running from what's already inevitable. She should have said no, should have walked away, should have chosen the safe, sane path. Instead, she whispered, "Okay." Jinwoo's eyes darkened with triumph and something more. Possessive satisfaction. "Say it clearly, I need to hear it." "Okay, I'm yours. God help me, I'm yours." He kissed her again, slower this time, savoring. When he pulled back, his smile was genuine. No darkness, no calculation, just pure male satisfaction. "Finally," he murmured. "My beautiful disaster. My Adana." Outside the window, Atlanta glittered with possibility and danger. Adana had stepped into a world of blood and loyalty, passion and violence, with a man who commanded both fear and empires. She'd slept with her ex's father. Worse, she'd fallen for the devil himself. And somewhere in the darkness of Jinwoo Park's world, she'd found exactly where she belonged. The game had only just begun. The gun felt foreign in Adana's hand, the metal cold and unforgiving. Jinwoo stood behind her, his chest pressed against her back, his arms guiding hers into position at the private shooting range beneath his headquarters. "Breathe," he murmured against her ear, his voice sending shivers down her spine despite the gravity of the lesson. "Squeeze, don't pull." The shot rang out. The target's shoulder bloomed with a hole, not center mass, but close enough. "Better," Jinwoo praised, his lips brushing her neck. Again. This was her life now. 2 weeks since she'd surrendered to the inevitable. 2 weeks of living between two worlds, saving lives at Grady Memorial by day, entering Jinwoo's criminal empire by night. 2 weeks of falling deeper into something that felt like love but tasted like danger. "I'm a nurse," Adana said, lowering the weapon. "I shouldn't be good at this. You're my woman now, you need to survive." Jinwoo turned her to face him, his expression serious. "The Bratva knows about you. They'll come for you to hurt me. I won't let that happen." 3 days later, Adana was suturing a knife wound on one of Jinwoo's enforcers when Minho burst into the medical facility, blood streaming from his temple. "We have a problem," he gasped in accented English, clutching his side. "David knows." Adana's hands froze mid-stitch. "What?" "He saw security footage. From the building. You and Hyungnim." Minho used the Korean term of respect for Jinwoo. "Kissing in the garage last week. He's outside, demanding to see his father." The world tilted. Jinwoo appeared in the doorway as if summoned by catastrophe itself, his expression carved from ice. "Get her to the safe room," he ordered Minho. "No." Adana stood, stripping off her bloody gloves. "I won't hide. This is my mess, too." Jinwoo's jaw clenched. "Adana, he deserves the truth. From both of us." Something flickered in Jinwoo's eyes. Pride, maybe, or fear. "Then we face him together. But you stay behind me." The main office had been transformed into a war room. David stood in the center, flanked by 2 of Jinwoo's men who looked ready to restrain him. When he saw Adana, his face contorted with betrayal and rage. "You?" His voice cracked. "With my father. Tell me it's not true." Adana's heart hammered, but she held his gaze. "David, how long?" He turned to Jinwoo, fists clenched. "How long have you been sleeping with my girlfriend?" "Ex-girlfriend," Jinwoo corrected, his tone dangerously calm. "And she was never truly yours, David. You didn't appreciate what you had. So you took her?" David's laugh was bitter, broken. "My own father. This is low even for you. Watch your tone." Jinwoo's voice dropped to that lethal register that made grown men flinch. But David was past fear, drowning in hurt. "I've spent my whole life trying to earn your respect, your approval, and you take the one woman I—" His eyes found Adana's. "Did you sleep with him while we were together?" "No," Adana said firmly. "Never. It happened after we ended. I didn't know who he was." "And when you found out?" David's voice was acid. "You stayed anyway?" Chose him? The truth stuck in her throat. It's complicated. It's disgusting. David lunged forward. Jinwoo's men moved instantly, restraining him. Let me go. He's my father. Jinwoo raised a hand and the men released David but stayed close. You want the truth? Here it is. I saw her first 6 months ago when you brought her to my restaurant. I wanted her then. But she was yours, so I stayed away. When you were stupid enough to lose her, I didn't waste the opportunity. He stepped forward, every inch the Mafia boss. And yes, I pursued her, I claimed her, because unlike you, I know the value of what I have. David's face went white. You're a monster. I've never pretended otherwise. Jinwoo's hand found Adana's, possessive and claiming. She knows what I am. She chose me anyway. Did she choose, or did you force her? David's eyes were wild now, desperate. Did you threaten her, her family? That's what you do, isn't it? Manipulate and control. David, stop, Adana interjected. He didn't force me. It's real. The words hung in the air. David staggered back like she'd struck him. I loved you, he whispered. No, Adana said gently, sadly. You loved the idea of me. You never really saw me. And he does? David's gesture toward Jinwoo was violent. A criminal? A killer? I see all of her, Jinwoo said quietly. Her strength, her fire. Everything you took for granted. David's expression shifted then from hurt to something colder, more dangerous. You've chosen your side, Adana. Don't expect mercy when this empire falls. And it will fall. Father's made too many enemies. The Russians, the Italians, the FBI. Get out, Jinwoo commanded. And David, if you breathe a word of this to anyone, if you even think about betraying this family, you'll learn exactly what kind of monster I can be. Blood or not. David backed toward the door, his eyes on Adana. When you realize what he really is, when you see the bodies and the blood and the evil, don't come crying to me. The door slammed. Silence crashed down. Adana's knees buckled. Jinwoo caught her, strong arms wrapping around her trembling frame. I hurt him, she whispered against his chest. He hurt himself by not valuing you. Jinwoo's hand stroked her hair. But you're right. This is complicated now. Dangerous. David knows, which means he's a liability. She pulled back, searching his face. You wouldn't, Jinwoo, he's your son. I won't kill him if that's what you're asking, but I can't trust him anymore either. His expression was grim. This changes things, Adana. Accelerates timelines. What timelines? Before he could answer, an explosion rocked the building. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now. Things are about to get deadly. The lights flickered, alarms blared. Jinwoo's phone erupted with calls and alerts. He answered in rapid Korean, his free arm still around Adana, protecting her instinctively. The Russians are hitting our operations across the city, Minho reported, rushing back in, now armed with automatic weapons. Warehouses, clubs, even the restaurant, coordinated attack. Jinwoo's expression could have frozen hell. Casualties? Unknown. Our men are fighting back, but they were ready for us. Hyungnim, they knew our locations, our schedules. Minho hesitated. We have a leak. The implication hung heavy. Jinwoo's eyes cut to the door David had exited through moments ago. No, Adana breathed. He wouldn't, not that fast. Wouldn't he? Jinwoo was already moving, barking orders in Korean. To Adana in English, safe room, now, this isn't negotiable. The safe room was a reinforced bunker 2 floors down, stocked with supplies and weapons. Minho escorted Adana while Jinwoo coordinated his forces. The young enforcer's face was grave. You care for him, Minho observed as they descended the emergency stairs. Is it that obvious? You saved my life because you care for all life. But Hyungnim, you look at him differently. Minho smiled slightly. He looks at you like you're the only thing in the world that matters. I've never seen him like this. It makes him stronger and more vulnerable. They reached the safe room. Minho input the code, the heavy door swinging open. Stay here until he comes for you, Minho instructed. I must fight. You're still healing, which is why I owe you my life. I pay debts. He bowed, a gesture of deep respect, then was gone. Alone in the bunker, Adana paced like a caged animal. Monitors showed security feeds from across Jinwoo's empire. Firefights, explosions, chaos.